Utah football coach Kyle Whittingham with us, and this is 365 Sports Big 12 Media Days. How much, after the way last year went, were you motivated to get back to this year?
As much as you can possibly be. Whatever that ceiling is, I was right there. And it was the most frustrating year of my career, hands down, not even close. And so I'm excited about the team we got this year. We got some things going for us that are very positive. But last year was as frustrating as it gets.
I know you get on the motorcycle, right?
All the time, as much as possible.
Do you take, after a good season, a bad season, do you take to the open road and think about it, or is that clear your head? What is it? When you're on the bike, what are you thinking about?
I have to wait a few months in Utah to get back on the bike because there's about a foot of snow on the ground. So I get on the skis.
Okay.
I can get going 80 miles an hour on the skis, and that's always a good thing. But I decompress. I find some ways to do that, and you have to, or otherwise it'd drive you nuts. But last year was exceptionally difficult, and the frustration level was all time. But again, I've said it before, nobody cares that you got injuries. You got to deal with it. And no matter how things shake out, you got to keep competing and keep finding a way to, put guys on the field and be successful. And so no excuses. We just didn't get it done last year.
How tired are you of talking about last year?
Very tired. Very tired. So tired I could puke. But anyway, like I said, we've had some refreshing things go on in the off season. We got a new offense that we got installed and a new quarterback, and we got what I think is the best offensive line that we've had since I've been at Utah. We got 2 projected first rounders at the offensive tackle spot and 3 seniors inside that are all really good players and have played good football for us through the years. So got some things going for us.
I remember when a couple years ago, Neil Brown's no longer there, but they were not thought to have going to have a good year, and he kept talking about his offensive line.
Yep.
And knowing you and knowing anybody, that's it, right? The meat, the guts. You got to have guys making plays, but you got to have them.
That is a great starting point for success on offense, and absolutely, if you got a solid offensive line, that opens up so many possibilities for your offensive coordinator. He can do so many different things, and like I said, I expect those guys to be great this year. That's my expectation.
And when you have an offensive line like that, I know a lot of times when you go get a transfer portal quarterback, people want to think about what are his receivers? What are the running backs? But if I was a transfer portal quarterback, and I know it's not going to be hard for you to imagine that, but if it was me, my first question would be, hey, who are the 5 guys that are gonna keep me alive?
No doubt.
Who's gonna do that? And with you guys having that much experience, I'm sure that when you talk to Devon Dampier, who I think the league is really excited to see, that would be okay, all right, you can figure out fast guys, but the big guys, those are harder to find. Those are way harder to find.
100% agree, and I think that was a big selling point for Devin when he was in the portal and looking for a landing spot, and not to diminish that his offensive coordinator happened to be with us, because that was a huge factor as well. I mean, that's painfully obvious, but the supporting cast that he had last year, not to be disparaging or throw shade on anybody, but he was pretty much a one-man show in a lot of respects, and so to see him this fall operate with that kind of an offensive line and some of the other weapons that we have around him, I think is going to be very exciting.
What is the biggest thing that you've not talked much about or not talked about at all that you're the most excited or proud about
for the upcoming season?
Upcoming season, yeah.
Well, I would say, first of all, the O-line, like we just spent some time on, but I think defensively we're going to be as good as we've been. We've been solid over there for decades, and I expect more of the same this year. I think that, just having Devin, and we talk about his abilities as a runner and a thrower, but his leadership is off the charts. I mean, he's a guy that he was on campus 2 weeks, and we had a leadership council vote, which we do at the beginning of each semester, and he made the leadership council by a landslide, having only spent 2 weeks with his teammates. That's the impact that he had on those guys. So the team has really embraced him, and he has that it factor that you look for in a quarterback. He's a guy that everybody rallies around and really just gravitates towards.
Outside of just having the it factor, how does a guy go about doing that so quickly? What do you have to do that?
Well, his personality. He's a team guy. He's not a me guy, and I think the players picked up on that right away. He's a guy that has really developed a strong bond with that offensive line. They spend a lot of time together. He's got, taking them out to dinner on a weekly basis pretty much, and really gotten to know those guys. And they appreciate that because the offensive line are the unsung heroes. They don't get much attention typically. And so he's really created a good relationship and bond with his offensive line.
How much is it also for you guys, not just having getting the new quarterback in who's so exciting in Devin, but just having the same guy be able to start most of the games? Because
Yeah.
I would you've been through it when it comes to that with having to switch guys out every 3 weeks. That's just
Every
it's just
2
not
weeks.
done. Yeah, every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks. If you can have a guy that can play 11 of the 12 for you,
That would be ideal. That
Yeah.
would be ideal. When we lined up against Central Florida in the last game, we had no backup quarterback. Our running back was a backup quarterback because we were on our 5th guy, and there was nobody left in the program. And so it was, just watching those guys go down seemingly weekly, but it was actually every couple of weeks was just painful. But again, sometimes you have those type of years. I mean, that's just how things fell, and so you got to be able to adapt and keep moving forward as best you can.
You've only been in the Big 12 the 1 year, and it's almost like that doesn't count. It does, but it doesn't count. What are your thoughts about the conference and who they are, the respect level, the depth, or what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, we had great respect for the conference going in. We felt like we had a good handle on, after doing our offseason analysis of each of the teams, it was going to be very comparable to the Pac-12 in a lot of ways. I would say more physicality in the Big 12, more commitment to the run game than what you saw in the Pac. Now, we had some terrific quarterbacks in the Pac-12, and we had Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, and we had some quarterbacks that were off the charts in the Pac-12, so there was a lot of throw game, but I don't think that anything completely caught us off guard or by surprise, because like I said, we were expecting a physical conference, and that's exactly what we got.
I asked you when I had a phone interview with you when you were going to play Baylor a couple of years ago, that somebody described you as playing an angry ball of razor blades, and you had not heard that before.
No.
And you love that analogy.
I do. It resonated with me. Absolutely. And that's we maybe that was our problem last year. I think we were picked to win the league, and maybe that was our problem. We seem to thrive when we're in that underdog role and have that chip on our shoulder.
But you were always a program that no matter what conference you were in, you kind of, and I think this threw the Pac-12 for a loop when you guys were winning it, is how physical you are at your core.
Right.
Like whatever else happens around it, like you guys, you're going to have scrappers. When you recruit guys, do you have can you see it? Can you see the guys you think, okay, well, this guy's a heck of an athlete, but I'm not sure if he really likes having pads on?
Absolutely, and that's a big part of our recruitment process is determining that, and we rely on the high school coaches. We don't want any soft guys in our program, and so if this guy's very talented but just is not physical and kind of has a soft element to his game, we pass on those guys.
Would you take a bigger chance on a guy who likes to get in the mix but may not have the measurables as speed? A 5'9" linebacker who just is always around the ball, or you're like, man, this kid can run, but he doesn't know what he's doing?
Well, we probably have more tolerance for that than other programs, but at some point you can't have a bunch of 5'9" linebackers. You got to have some of the guys that meet those physical parameters. But I know our offensive or our assistant coaches have done a great job of projecting, and that's what football is all about. At least at the college level, is about recruiting. Mm-hmm. And so it used to be all about projection. Now it's about NIL. It's all about NIL, who gets the players or the guys that have the deepest pockets. But through the years, our guys have done a great job of projecting talent and developing that talent within the program. And again, that's taken a back seat a little bit because if a guy's not playing in a year or two, they're going to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to develop a guy for 2 or 3 years because he's just not willing to do that. And so it's kind of taken us it's forced us to take a little bit different approach.
Does your head just kind of spin with trying to wrap your head around just what everything is now? I mean, just and how it all operates. And
yep, with NIL and the transfer portal, I mean, we have 57% of our roster is new for this year, and I don't think that's out of line with most teams. I mean, most teams are turning over half their team from year to year, whereas before you'd have 120 guys in your roster, you might lose 20 or 30 and replace them with obviously 20 or 30. Now it's you lose 60 and you replace them with 60, and so it's a whole different ballgame in that respect.
Can that be a good thing though?
Could be good or bad. Cuts both ways.
Right.
Yep.
With it the way it is, with you have a Morgan Scally, obviously a coach in waiting.
Right.
There's no way you were going to walk away after last year.
Absolutely no way. Absolutely no way.
that would be just against your DNA.
Exactly.
Does the change in college football force you to think about that sooner than later?
That's a great question. There's aspects to NIL that I'm in favor. First of all, I think players should get compensated. I'm not against that at all, but I would like to see, and I don't know if there's any way to do it, but a little more of a level playing field and trying to. But I guess there's never been a level playing field in college football, so that might be a pipe dream. But I just know you either embrace it and change with the times, or you do a Nick Saban and just say, you know what, I'm out. I've had enough. And so right now, I've just trying my best to navigate through all the changes, and there's more changes to come. We're not done changing by any stretch. I mean, there's going to be titanic changes, coming in the next 3 or 4 years. But I'm just trying to embrace and enjoy the ride for right now.
All of a sudden, coaches used to have to talk to one agent, their own agent. That was it.
Yeah.
You talk to one guy, he was your agent. Now you have to talk to a bunch, but you don't you go through a 40, 50-year coaching career never having to do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is the most important part of your job. Hope you figure it out quick.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, we're able to hire a general manager who takes a lot of that off my plate, because he spends literally, 18 hours a day on the phone talking to agents and parents and negotiating and that just, if I had to do all that in addition to the other responsibilities, it's not doable. And so fortunately we've got, like I said, a good GM who handles that. Now I'm privy to everything that's going on. I'm in on, all the numbers and who we're thinking of, giving what to, but I don't have to deal with the agents and the conversation and all that stuff that happens.
I love this league's coaches. I just think it's a really cool crop of coaches, very diverse backgrounds and everything. Is there any coach that you particularly have a bond with, or is there a guy you enjoy talking to, or guys, I should say?
Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a really good group. Me and Rich Rod go way back, in the Pac-12, and I really have a lot of respect for Coach Sanders over at Colorado and what he's doing. But I think you get to this level as coaches, you got some really good qualities about you, or you wouldn't be here. And so I think I am agreeing with you that this is a really good group.
Thank you, appreciate it. We got to go. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, guys.
Kyle Whittingham, Utah, with us on 365 Sports.